All right, we are back with John Cobb, town administrator. It's been a long time because of COVID, but we're here masked up and safe, distance from you all.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about some of the town board meetings and interesting stuff for the town of Wellston. We're going to just dive right into October 8th. OG&E spoke on community partnership. Could you tell me about what that was about?
Absolutely. So every 20 years, we have a thing called a franchise election within the communities, and OG&E's franchise agreement with the town of Wellston is coming up here, I think in 2024. OG&E, they have what are called community relations officers or community relation position, and she came. Her name is Kimberly Adams. She's a great community partner. She works very hard for OG&E. She works with the Deep Fork District of Oklahoma as well for economic development in this area. And she came and just talked a little bit about what OG&E does as a community partner for these towns, specifically Wellston. She discussed the amount of franchise tax that we receive, and she discussed some of the other benefits that OG&E does, like put money into economic development programs like the Deep Fork District.
Great. I know everybody was super interested about this when we brought it up. Survival Flight EMS has been reaching out to the town of Wellston. How's that going? What was discussed at this meeting?
It's going pretty good. Survival Flight reached out to Wellston a few months back, and we started a dialogue. At the October board meeting, they came and they basically told about their company, and we discussed options for bringing them here into Wellston for them to place an ambulance here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that was kind of the first formal meeting between them and the town board of trustees. The town board at that time approved moving forward with the planning part of this and kind of exploring our options. Mm-hmm. And they approved me to negotiate terms with the Survival Flight EMS. Since then, we have been able to basically negotiate to a point where we can financially sustain or support the EMS service from what they need. It's basically called a subsidy, a community subsidy for the EMS program. Okay. Part of that EMS subsidy, or the subsidy that the town will provide, is housing and a place for them to park their, so housing for their EMTs and paramedics, and housing for their equipment. Mm-hmm. So what we've proposed to the board, or what we're proposing, is that we relocate our police department to another building. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of in negotiations or in search for a building to do that too. And then move the ambulance back into back where the police department, yeah, basically where the ambulance was before.
Right.
So within that, we'll be able to provide the housing for the EMT and a place for their ambulances. So with that, we still have to work out the new police department area. We're looking at a building here on Main Street. So we're in the negotiations of that as well.
That's great. You had brought up a proposal at that meeting for it was something about small business incubator. Now, What is that?
So this kind of came into play when we were looking. We have a couple vacant spaces down here on Main Street, and when we were looking at where could we possibly relocate our police department to, the one building that kind of stuck out here was the building where the dispensary used to be. Mm-hmm. And it's a rather large building, mm-hmm. but on the end of it, it has a perfect spot where we can move our police department to. Mm-hmm. But if we were to purchase that building, we would have the large space in the middle. Mm-hmm. What could we do with that? Well, one tool in trying to boost the economic health of the community is called a business incubator. Okay. It was actually recommended by the SWOT analysis that was done on our community a few years back that a business incubator could be a good tool mm-hmm. to kind of help boost our local economy. Excuse me, I had to kind of breathe a little heavy through this thing.
We all get it.
So a business incubator, what I proposed to the board is that if we do purchase that building and we have that space, we utilize the retail area, or the space where the dispensary was, as a business incubator for small business. What we would do, let's say you had a retail business that you would like to get started, you had a business idea. You would prepare a business plan mm-hmm. and submit it to probably a small business committee that would be formed by the town board, and they would review it and say they approve that plan. They would offer you that space for say half rent or rent free for a year that would allow you to develop and incubate your business to the point. A small business's main, one of their large barriers to growth is just getting over that first year.
Yeah.
If a small business can make it past that first year, their chances of continuing on double and triple and continue to increase. So it's just an opportunity that we have, that the town has, to utilize taxpayers' dollars to reinvest into the community, which is, that's why we pay taxes, right?
Right.
So we're still working on that, trying to figure, how maybe we can move that program forward.
That sounds very cool. We had a trunk or treat. We went ahead with it this year. Can you tell me, do you know how the attendance was?
It was fairly decent. I would say probably a little, I don't know, maybe a little less than last year. But with trunks, the attendance, I think, of people attending, though, was, I think, more than last year.
Yeah, there was several
there
people.
was quite a few people that came and attended the event. But I think we were probably down on trunks a little bit. But also, I believe all three of the churches here downtown did something, so
Yeah.
there was plenty to be done.
Right, it was great.
Yeah, it was a good turnout.
There was dilapidated sidewalk removed on a 504 Ash. Has it been done yet?
It has not been completed yet, but the town board approved the deletion, basically, or the demo of that sidewalk. It was an old sidewalk, probably from the 50s, and grass has grown over it, and it's kind of broken. It just needs to be removed.
Right. There was a mutual agreement with Lincoln County, and what does that mean for Wellston?
So under the state statutes, municipalities under 5,000 residents are allowed to enter into, actually the county is somewhat obligated to enter into an agreement to help with maintenance of the roads.
Okay.
So not necessarily pay for all of that, but it's a mutual aid agreement between the town and the county, so that they can help us with resources that we don't have. So it'll be able to make our dollar go a little bit farther in road repair and maintenance. So say we have a lot of roads that need some work, but we will present the county with, say, hey, we have $10,000 we need to put into this road. Can you help us with an asphalt machine and somebody to run it?
Right.
We'll pay for the asphalt, and that's what the agreement's made for.
Okay. And you had surplus items to sell in October. Do you remember what they were offhand?
In October, it was, give me just 1 second here. October surplus items. I believe they were items that are listed right now on the senior nutrition page. It is a roll top desk,
Like a heater, wasn't one of them?
a heater, a propane heater or gas heater, and a hutch, a big TV hutch.
Okay.
And those are listed right now on the senior nutrition page and the town page. If you want to make a sealed bid on it, just put your sealed bid on the item, list the item that you would like, stick it in the drop box up here. We'll open those at the December board meeting.
Okay. The police department was wanting to purchase refurbished tough books.
Yes,
pretty old
we
ones now.
received, the ones they have are about 20 years old.
Oh.
They're old. But we've got the new tough books in, and these are completely refurbished. They're just basically brand new. We were able to recover some funding through the CARES Act. So we recovered about $60,000.
Wow.
And we utilized those funds to bolster our technology and some of the security features and some of the needed items that just weren't in our budget. And we're able to get the police department those items, as well as another item we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
And there were fire engine repairs to be made at that point.
Yes.
Is this separate from the other thing?
The fire engine repairs.
Yeah.
Oh, separate from the tanker.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. One of our fire engines, the yellow engine,
Okay.
it just needed some pretty serious repairs. Big trucks are expensive to take care of. So it was I think about $10,000 in repairs it needed. So we had to ship it off. But when it comes back, it'll be in tip-top shape and ready to put back in service.
Awesome. So we go on to the planning committee, and I guess we have so many food trucks that come to our festivals we throw, that we have some regulations that were created.
Yes, and there's been some things were brought up regarding, and it's not necessarily regarding the festivals and stuff, but where a food truck can set up.
Okay.
You know, as the municipality, one of our goals is to make sure there's fair competition. So a situation was brought up to the town board, and the town board looked at that, and we kind of looked at some examples of regulating food trucks, of like where they can set up, how close they can set up to other existing businesses, so that they don't distract from that business. So we come up with we kind of reviewed things, worked with our attorney, and come up with a pretty fair solution, basically, and implemented a license that's required if you're going to operate a food truck in the community. Now, we can waive those for certain events, which of course we will, to bring in like the Deep Fork River Festival or the Christmas parade, stuff like that.
I mean, I'm assuming most communities require licenses and stuff for them anyway, so we're not too much to ask.
No.
Okay, so looking at the November 12th planning meeting, we had an audit you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we have our financial standings audit done. It's required for municipalities to be audited. And this year, very happy to say, it was the best audit that our auditor has done for this community she said, since she's been doing it.
Wow.
So we put back almost $100,000 into our general fund last year. So we're working to try to make a more financially secure and stable community. And all that is just working together, every department. Probably some of them probably get tired of hearing me talk about budget, but it's really important that we follow that budget. If you set down your plan in writing and you work that plan, you have results. And that's what this audit showed for us.
Great.
We had good results.
That's good. And they also have a planning committee, and certain people resigned and other people replaced them. So we have Carl Phillips coming back, and Candy taking over the Levi seat. And I guess an alternate is open for nominations.
Yeah, the Planning Commission is a statutorily required commission for community. They act as their board of adjustment. They hear planning disputes, and also look at developing long-term goals for the community. So it's a great opportunity for people to, if they want to get involved, as to have a little bit of influence into how the community grows and how it changes. So those positions, they're volunteer. So sometimes people get busy. So they're going to kind of be a turnover within that group, and and we're excited to have Candy Malfris. Candy Malfris is a great community partner. Excited to have her on board.
Okay, and here is an item that was very much talked about. A lot of people have questions about it.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk about this proposed annexation. What does it mean? What good will it do? The benefits?
Absolutely. So Wellston, founded in 1898, was about a half section of, like half a square mile when it was founded in 1898. 122 years later, we're 1.7 square miles. Not a lot of growth. A community has to grow. In Oklahoma, we have to grow. We have to kind of grow our areas for a couple reasons. One is to protect our boundaries from encroachment from other communities. Oklahoma City, Edmond, Luther, there's nothing that would prevent those communities from completely enveloping Wellston, which would pretty much kill any future growth potential. With the community in Oklahoma, towns have to rely on sales tax. So in order to grow parks, ambulance, fire, police, new streets, libraries, stuff like that, we have to have a little bit larger of a sales tax footprint so that we can reinvest into the community. So that's one reason. Another reason is we have a rural culture out here. We all appreciate the way of life, the small town way of life that we have. The ones that live out in the country, all the ones that still live here in town. And one way to protect that is to basically push our boundaries out. If we push our boundaries out, it gives the people in the rural areas a voice in how the future how the community develops in the future. So those are the real meat and bones issues that are needed for annexation, or really pertain to that, is why a community needs to grow. If it's going to survive, it has to kind of grow out there. So benefits to the community from that: if we increase our population, we qualify for a little bit more incentives through federal grants, state grants, so on and so forth. Also, it'll help us with a little bit of tax revenue from use tax, which is internet purchases, things like that.
So people that would be annexed into the town, they would also get coverage from the fire department and police department that we normally don't have
Yes,
in those
ma'am.
areas.
So that was one, as we've talked to a lot of the residents. So, I kind of explained the community's need, the town need to grow. The residents in these rural areas, one of the big reasons, talking to them that they are for annexation is patrol, police patrol. Right now they're covered by the county. We have an amazing county sheriff that works really hard with the assets that he has. But, if you have one deputy on at night or two deputies on at night, and they're on the other side of Stroud, and you have an emergency call over here, or just need or not even an emergency, just a general call for service, you're waiting a long time. But also, we as a municipality, we have a little bit more, we have 3 full-time officers and 4 part-time officers. And we will be able to actually do routine patrol in those areas, which is proven to reduce crime. And property crime is a serious thing in this area. People come home and the stuff's missing. If we can increase patrol, it might lower that a little bit.
Now you have some people concerned, like you said, losing their country way of life.
Right.
Most of the people that are on the planning committee and the town board have a country way of life.
Yep.
You live in the country, you have
ma'am.
animals and livestock.
Yes, ma'am. One thing that I would like to address to that fact is, under the Oklahoma State Constitution, anytime an area is annexed, its basic zoning is rural or agricultural. I'm sorry. So our agricultural zoning, you can still shoot your guns, you can have your pigs, you can do everything that you need. There's really no change in that.
So they're not going to expect having to have their dogs on leashes or in a fenced-in area, living in where they live. That's not going to be an issue.
Not gonna, no.
Okay. But yeah, I think a lot of people are just concerned, and we understand that.
And right, and this, and we sent out some, frequently asked questions to. We mailed out notices to everybody in that area, and we talked about, what is annexation, how will it impact me financially, what happens to addresses. They don't change, they stay the same. We will provide police service, fire suppression. You're able to sit on town boards and commissions and have a say, and you can vote in the municipal elections. So those are some, some benefits to it.
And the town itself cannot raise property taxes.
No, ma'am. Okay. No, property taxes are not affected by annexation whatsoever. In the state of Oklahoma, municipalities do not receive or have any impact in your ad valorem or real estate tax. In funny trivia, Oklahoma is the only state in the entire nation that does not allow municipalities to charge real estate tax, property tax.
That is helpful to know.
It's not necessarily a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. It makes towns live and die on that sales tax dollar.
Now, this is something I didn't notice the first time I looked. So we're discussing allowing the sales of fireworks within town limits now?
Yes. So again, that kind of goes back to opportunity. How do you increase revenue for the community? You look for opportunities to bring in sales tax. We have an ordinance that does not allow the sales of fireworks in town limits. Well, we have sales of fireworks literally right outside. We're losing some of that sales tax, to come into the community. So this is just an opportunity. One of our business owners came to us and said, "Hey, I have had people ask me to set up fireworks stands, but I can't. Can you look at this?" And he approached the town board. We presented some options to them, and they want to see a proposed ordinance that will change that.
Right. Okay, so moving on to the town board meeting, which usually comes after planning board meeting.
Yes, and next year that's going to change. The planning meeting, all the meetings start at 5 o'clock. So the planning, it'll just be the town board and then the WPWA.
Okay. Of note was the acceptance of the library as a gift to the community.
And we're okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're on to the.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The town board meeting.
The acceptance of the library. So, if you recall, a few months back, we created an ordinance creating the Wellston Municipal Library. Okay. The library, Friends of the Library Foundation, came to us and said, our volunteer base is getting older. It's sometimes hard to find new volunteers. We're struggling with raising funds. Is there anything the town can do to help? Mm-hmm. So the town board took that up, and they created an ordinance. They passed it. That created the Wellston Municipal Library. So as part of this ordinance, the physical property has to be turned over to the town. So their board gifted the physical property of the library to the town of Wellston, and that's what that was.
Okay. Next, we wanted to talk about the merit-based employee bonus policy.
Absolutely. So, one thing that I've always been a fan of, or not necessarily a fan of, but it's important to take care of your employees. If your employees are happy, they're going to work hard for you, and that one of that thing is rewarding them for a job well done. Under municipal employees, you can't give like Christmas bonuses and stuff like that, but they have to be merit-based bonuses. So the town didn't have a policy for that before. Last year, the town board asked before we would go to the town board in an executive session, and they would have to go through every employee, and what they asked last year was to create a policy on it. So this year we created a policy that says basically, you're rewarded for the time that you put in and the basically the work product that you produce. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting wrote up, you're going to get a benefit, or a performance-based incentive based off of your salary and your time served.
Okay. And also, it seems we are accepting a donation of a 2008 Sterling cab and chassis from DeLisi Brothers.
Yeah, the volunteer fire department was able to get with DeLisi, and were donated a cab and chassis, basically a big green truck. Mm-hmm. Fantastic vehicle. I think it has 100,000 miles, which is nothing for a big truck like that. But we're going to be able to turn that into the town's new tanker, and it'll add, I think it gives us 500 additional gallons, plus it'll also be a little easier to drive.
Yeah. And it looks like also we're surplusing out the 1993 International Water Tanker to recover the cost of fixing up the thing.
Right, because we didn't need to, and plus that one's a little older, we need to surplus it, and we're going to use those funds to... Right. And I did, back on the October when one of the other items that was on there for surplus is we are going to surplus the red engine out, but we're going to do that after we get our yellow one back, because so that's some funds that will be recovered.
Right. Okay. I wanted to talk about the purchase of less than lethal BOLA wrap devices for the police department.
So absolutely.
And what are these?
They're Batman devices. I would encourage you to Google search BOLA
like
wrap.
A boomerang?
Not really. So it's in all seriousness, less than lethal is a very important option for your police department to use. And if you encounter somebody with a knife and they're 10 feet away from you, they can close that distance very quickly. For 20 feet, they can close it very quickly. And a knife is just as deadly as a gun. That close. So currently right now, if one of our officers faces somebody with a knife from 10, 20 feet out, their options really at this point they don't have a lot of options. Yeah. So anything that we can do as administration for the town to give those officers tools to either preserve someone's life or and protect their own, that's great. So the BOLA wrap basically is a powder charged pistol like device that shoots a Kevlar rope at 900 feet per second. It has barbs on the end of it, and it incapacitates the individual by wrapping them up.
Oh my.
I've been kind of following this device for a little over a year now. More and more departments are putting them in. We're going to be the first department maybe one of the first departments in all of, if not the first department in Oklahoma to utilize them.
Wow.
So it gives our officers just another tool that they can utilize. Tasers in the winter don't always work because of coats, heavy coats, or what have you. But this it'll give them a few seconds to stop somebody.
Good.
So.
Also, it looks like we're going to be purchasing bicycles to be donated to the elementary school students.
Every year we work with a donor that donates the funds, and we help facilitate that purchase, basically.
That's great. We're closing Main Street for the Christmas parade, hosted by the Chamber of Commerce on December 12th. We wanted to update on the negotiations with Life Flight EMS district boundaries and purchase of property to relocate police department, which you kind of discussed anyway. Right. So that's coming through. Yeah,
absolutely. We met with Chandler EMS. We've hammered out the EMS district. We've went to the county commissioners. They just basically said, yeah, work it out with the other ambulance districts and come back to us. Because the county commissioners are the ones that set the district.
Right.
So we have one more district to talk to. Shouldn't be an issue. And then in January, I would assume we'll go back to the county commissioners and present that new district to them.
Okay.
This next board meeting, I will be presenting I've been able to come to a number with the property owner on this building. I'll present that to the board and let them decide on that purchase or moving forward with that. I would say if everything keeps moving the way it goes, I'd say by February, March maybe at the latest, we'll have a EMS unit here.
That would be great. We have been, what has it been like?
10 years.
10 years? It seems like it's been much longer, but 10 years is a long time for communities like ours to not have life-saving help here.
Yeah, it'll make it's important. It'll make a big difference.
I know a lot of the citizens have been asking about EMS services, and here it's coming. Have faith. Okay, this one is pretty interesting. A lot of people have been talking about this one too. In the water board agenda, Myers Engineering contracts for Oklahoma Turnpike Authority water and sewer relocation.
Absolutely, seems like we've been working on this for 2 years. Well, I think we have been a long time. The realignment and the new bridge for the Turner Turnpike. Part of that includes the relocation and upgrade of a lot of our utility lines. We were able to negotiate and work with the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to put utility lines underneath the turnpike. So basically, we're expanding sewer to the west to serve some new development that's coming out there. A franchise Ford dealership that will hopefully open in November of 2021. So these agreements are the engineers' contracts basically to get the plan in place. That's moving along. They've already done all the engineering work. So you're going to start seeing groundbreaking on a lot of different stuff in the area probably in the next few months.
Do you know how long of a project they're saying this might be?
Well, the Turnpike project itself actually doesn't start until the end of next year. It just seems like a snail's pace. But we were able to, because the need for development and the desire to develop in the area, we were able to get these projects, these utility relocation projects, advanced. So we are going to go ahead and do all our utility relocation, put the utility sleeves under the turnpike, and then they'll be in place before construction even starts.
Okay, great.
But to answer your question more specifically, I believe the end of all of the ground, I believe, has almost been purchased. So probably midsummer to late fall next year, you'll start seeing stuff happen there.
Great. Well, we're closing it up, but we have the annexation. There was like a meeting.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
The public is invited to attend.
Absolutely.
What's
so
the date on that?
That is on December 10th, right here at Town Hall at 5 o'clock. So that's the public hearing for the property owners that are affected by the annexation or the property or the municipal boundary adjustment. So that is 920 to the north to 940 to the south, and then 3320, which is 102, all the way to county line. So it's 6 square miles. All the property owners have received mail, or should have received, first-class mail notifying them of this, and we've published it in the newspaper. But if you want to come in support of or in opposition of, please come in. You'll be asked to sign in and give us your address so that we can document it. You will be required to wear a mask and have your temperature taken. Just because of COVID right now, it's a lot of people being affected in our community by it, and we don't want to try to make that any worse.
Right.
But please do come and voice your opinion on it. That's a great thing about our form of government. You have an opportunity to voice your opinion.
Right. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching,
Thank you.
and we will see you next time.
Happy holidays.